सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम मौन व्याख्या प्रकटित परब्रह्म तत्त्वं जुबानं वसिष्ठान्ते वसत् ऋषिगणैः आवृतं ब्रह्मनिष्ठैः आचार्येन्द्रं करकलितचिन्मुद्रमानन्दरूपं स्वात्मा रामं मुदितवदनं दक्षिणामूर्तिमीडे वटविटपि समीपे भूमिभागे निषन्नं सकलमुनिजनानां ज्ञानदातारमारात् त्रिभुवनगुरुमीशं दक्षिणामूर्तिदेवं जननमरणदुःखच्छेददक्षं नमामि। चित्रं वटतरोर्मूले वृद्धा शिष्या गुरुर्युवा गुरोस्तु मौनं व्याख्यानं शिष्यास्तु छिन्न संशयाः निधये सर्वविद्यानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां गुरवे सर्वलोकानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्भूतं यथा निद्रया यत्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायाविविजृम्भयत्यपि महा योगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये यस्यैव स्फुरणं सदात्मकम् असत्कल्पार्थकं भासते साक्षात् तत्त्वमसीति वेदवचसा यो बोधयत्याश्रितान् यत्साक्षात्करणात् भवेन्न पुनरावृत्तिर्भवाम्भोनिधौ तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नानाचित्रघटोदरस्थितमहा दीपप्रभाभास्वरं ज्ञानं यक्षतु चक्षुरादिकरणद्वारा बहिस्पन्दते जानामीति तमेव भान्तमनुभात् एतत् समस्तं जगत् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये देहं प्राणमपीन्द्रियानपि चलां बुद्धिं च शून्यं विदुः स्त्रीबालान्धजडोपमास्त्वमिति भ्रान्ताभृशं वादिनः मायाशक्तिविलासकल्पितमहा व्यामोहसंहारिणे तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये राहुग्रस्तदिवाकरेन्दुसदृशो मायासमाच्छादनात् सन्मात्रकरणोपसंहरणतो यो भूत्सुषुप्तः पुमान् प्रागस्वाप्समिति प्रबोधसमये स्वप्रत्यभिज्ञायते Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namah. Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Balyadishu api jagradadishu tatha sarvasvavastha-svapi vyavritta svanuvartamanah idyantam spurantam sada svatmanam prakati karoti bhajatam yo mudraya bhadraya tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namah. Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Vishwam pashyati karya karanataya swaswami sambandhataha shishyacharyataya tataiva pitru putradhyatmana bhedataha swapne jagrativaya esha purusho maya paribhramitaha tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namah. Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Bhurambhansya nalo nilombar maharnartho himamshu puman ityabhati characharatmakamidam yasyaiva murtyashtakam nanyat kinchana vidyate vimrshatam yasmat parasmat vibhoho tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namah. Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Sarvatmatvamiti sputi kritamidam yasmadamushmin stave tenasya shravanat tadarthamanana dhyanatcha sankirtana sarvatmamaham vibhuti sahitam syadishwaratvam sataha siddhyetat punarashtadha parinatam Chaishwaryam Vyahatam. So we're doing Bijasya Antar Iva Ankuraha Iva Jagat Idam Prang Nirvikalpam Punaha Maya Kalpita Desha Kala Kalana Vaichitrya Chitrikritam Mayavi Iva Vijrambhayati Api Mahayogi Iva Yah Swechaya Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So, one thing I was thinking of, I've already talked about it a couple of times, but I want to reiterate it. These 10 verses can be seen by each one of us as developing a clarity on the basic tenets of Vedanta. So I would say that if, for example, if somebody asks you to teach a class on Vedanta for one class even, 1 or 2 classes, 1 or 2 hours or something, and say, what is Vedanta? Please explain it to us. Then each one of us should be able to, and let us make a goal that by the end of these 10 verses, we have the basic tenets of Vedanta that I need to articulate clearly in our minds. Whether our understanding is complete or not is a gradual process, but at least the basic tenets of Vedanta should be clear to us. So I would really challenge you, and in fact I will help you to develop these basic tenets of the Vedanta, because I think they're all here. And I think the way I'm teaching this, I'm happy with, in the sense that I'm not going to go into the details of each one of the Manasa Ullasa verses, 56 verses in the second stotram, because that may not be necessary at this stage. But I think that the central idea of each of these verses should be very clear to us. And so I think you can almost, I would say, develop a separate file which would say basic tenets of Vedanta. And a good start on the basic tenets of Vedanta are the titles given by Swami Maheshananji. I think that they are a bit too terse. They have to be sketched out a little bit more, but they are absolutely the true ones. So, for example, the very first one that we saw, which was Atma Pratyak Swarupa, in the first verse. Okay, so this you need to be very clear about. Atma Pratyak Swarupa. And then you need to develop a kind of your own understanding of what that means in a very summarized form. You should be able to do that. And so, for example, on that first one, Atma Pratyak Swarupa means that I am never manifest. Atma cannot be manifest. It is forever unmanifest. And you can even extend this idea to say that truth, the absolute truth, which is the nature of myself, absolute reality and the absolute truth, which is myself, cannot be explained in a manifest manner. This is the basic idea. This is one of the basic tenets of it. And also the other thing is that it's not as though each one, it's kind of like a puzzle. You know, you're developing an overall picture of what Vedanta is asking you to see. And so these are all pieces of the puzzle. So by itself, each of the puzzle pieces may not be complete. So for example, the Atma is unmanifest, truth is unmanifest, reality is unmanifest. You cannot stop there. You cannot stop there because the question is, what are you talking about? Not manifest? Then what about manifests? So anyway, those have to be filled in. And I think we are done with all the 10 verses. Then the 10 or some multiple of those pieces are the jigsaw puzzle pieces. When taken together, they should give you a clear vision of what Vedanta is saying. So I think I would put a challenge before you that please develop the, and I will help you with it also, pointing out what are some of the aspects of it, what are the basic, it's almost like a summarized separate list of the basic tenets of Vedanta that you should be very, very clear about. And you should be very, very familiar with it. And so that we could even do a test, I think, at the end of we'll see how to do it, but you know, I allow you're all adults and you've done all these sort of things before, but you should be able to tell, you can even, you know, just either a friend or someone or to each other, you can give a talk about the basic tenets of Vedanta. So I think that it may not be possible to do if you are studying a very complex Vedantic Upanishad, because it is highly detailed and perhaps not a complete view. But I think that the Dakshinamurthi Stotram, given by no other than the Adi Shankaras, I think there is no dispute that he is the author of this. There is dispute about other texts, but not about this text. That he has sort of said, okay, if I were to describe the reality of the world, the reality of the self, the nature of the truth, and so on, what would I say? This is what he's saying, and I think we need to be very clear about it. So I think you should keep that in mind as you finish doing that. And I think we may spend different amounts of time. The first one was pretty detailed and very basic. In this second one, I think I'm going to be able to finish the second one today. And I'll summarize it for you so that you have a pretty good idea of the basic tenets that the second verse represents. Bijasya antarivankuro jagadidam, this one. So we can even develop it, the central. You can, if you want to, just either underline it or just note it as a separate file or something. So what this verse is saying, that Atma means I. This is what I think Swami Paramarthananda is emphasizing more and more, and I really like that, his emphasis on doing that. He's saying, in the description of Vedanta, and even some of the verses that comes in and so on. So, like for example, in the Adi Shankara's famous Artha Shlokena Pravakshyami Yat Grantha Kotibhihi Uchyate, he says that I will give you in half a verse what all the hundreds and thousands of verses in Vedanta talk about. Ardha Shlokena Pravakshyami, I will tell you, this is a future tense, Pravakshyami. Ardha Shlokena means in half a verse, I will tell you what the essence of all of the Vedantic texts are saying. Now half a verse is gone, so only half a verse is left. So there in the second verse he says, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivaha Brahma Evanatu Aparaha. This is the second line. So what I was going to say in terms of what Swami Paramarthananda's emphasis was going, that this second line says Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. Okay? And so Swami Paramarthananda was saying, and he has a lot of backing to do this. For example, there are some Nididhyasanam verses. Kaivalya Upanishad is a lot of Nididhyasanam. Advaita Makaranda is another Nididhyasanam. Then Vaktratunda Gita is another Ashtavakra Gita is another Nididhyasanam. So in the Nididhyasanam, he's saying Aham Satyam, Jagan Mithya. Because he was a very big good point he made. He says, if you say Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, the general feeling is, okay, Brahma may be Satyam. Now, what Adi Shankara has done is to equate Aham with Brahman. But it'd be better to say Aham Satyam right away. And in fact, the whole Ashtavakra, he never uses the third person. He says I. And the same thing in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Aham Vrikshasya Reriva, Kirtif Prishtam Gireriva. Aham means I have to see that I am the Satyam. And so this is what we have to think about in Nididhyasana. Now, in the beginning you may go step by step that there is Brahman and Brahman is nothing than me. Jivaha Brahma Evanatu Aparaha. So the next step should be Aham Satyam. How is that possible, Aham Satyam? This is what we have to understand. So anyway, in going back to the essence of the second verse, this is what I was starting with. I haven't finished, I haven't forgotten that. The basic tenet of the second verse is that Aham, I, don't need any help in creating the whole world in my experience. World as my experience. Aham Moola Karanam, Atma Moola Karanam. This is the title that Swami Maheshananji has given. Mula Karana means, and so this is being debated. This basic fact is being debated. How is it being debated? Because we saw in the Vaisheshikas and Nayayikas and Sankhyas and Yogas and Purva Mimamsa and also Shaivites and Pauranikas, will briefly mention them. All of these schools of thought, they have an incomplete picture of what Ishvara or Atma can do. Brahma or Atma. Here, Brahma or Atma can do the same thing. They have an incomplete picture because you look for an explanation. And an explanation is exactly what the science is doing. Vaisheshikas is, as you know, we've already discussed it. They're nothing but they are the old ancient scientists. So they are saying, how did this happen? How can the world be made? What are the constituents of it? What are the particles? How can the particles connect? And they see some patterns. They see some patterns that then they feel very good. We are on to something. The more you explain it, how the atoms can be split up into electrons and protons, and then how molecules are formed, what are the basic elements, and so on, they feel, I think we are on to something. I think we are going to understand this. And we just need some more time. We need some more time, and then we're getting to the end of it. And I think we can figure it all out. And that means that the Atma, which means a consciousness, just has to stay back and depend upon an explanation of how this whole thing comes back. That means that the two are completely different. So here, the central theme of the second verse is, no, this is not how it happens. Atma does not need any help in creating the entire life of events. And in fact, we turn it into samsara. As we saw in the Saturday class also, that we turn the events into samsara by having a mamakara. So things are happening, including my own body. Things are happening. It was born, it's going to disintegrate, all of things is happening. And there is not tragedy. It's not tragedy at all. There are people getting killed, people getting born. This is a continuous thing happening. This is just a flow. But I turn it into a tragedy. Because my problem is most important. I should stay very healthy. I should be very long living. And not only that, but my all family people, they should also be very happy. And this is this is an unreasonable, unmeetable goal, and I live by that. So this is how we turn an event into a tragedy, into a samsara. But really speaking, things are happening, and also you cannot explain exactly how the whole thing works. This is also a central part of it. You should, if you want to write down some of the basic tenets, the thing is that it cannot be figured out. How things happen cannot be figured out, number one. And under the same breath, you should say it doesn't need to be figured out. The second part is just as important. Because if you stop at the first one, you create a havoc. You create a havoc because you say it cannot be figured out. Then people will say, then why are you talking to me? Then you are nothing. If you cannot figure it out, you should have told me that you don't know much. I'm trying to figure it out. Then I'm ahead of you. And so what Vedanta says is, listen, here's the thing. And so this is explained in great detail in the 6th chapter of Panchadashi. It's all consistent, really. The description might come in one form or the other, but taken in totality, it is very consistent. And this is what Tatparya Nishchaya is, that you keep studying and you find, yes, this is the same principle that I heard it there. It's all consistent. These are the basic tenets of Vedanta which are absolutely consistent. And one of the tenets is, you cannot definitively figure out the world. And the second one is, you don't need to figure it out. Our dependence on the need to figure it out, I think somehow my happiness will depend upon how I figure out what happens, how science happens, and this way I can be healthy, I can change my DNA, this, that. No. And in the 6th chapter of Panchadashi, Swami Maheshananji has made this so beautifully clear. He says, here's what happens. You know, when you solve supposing you solve an equation, mathematical equation. So in the mathematical equation, there's always some X factors. X factors means this we don't know. Now if the mathematical equation is all X factors, then it is not an equation. But what happens is you keep on explaining a lot of the elements of the mathematical equation. This is just like scientists figure out, yes, we know exactly how green color comes, how blue color comes. We can figure it out. And so on and so forth. And so they can say we can figure it all out. Then at the end you ask them some further questions. They'll say, well, that we have not yet figured out. So that means in every mathematical equation, there is an X factor which says, please don't ask anything about that. So if you look at the overall nature of the equation, it means that the end result is you cannot figure it out. You cannot figure it out. And in fact, in the 6th chapter of the Panchadashi, Swami Vidyaranya points out, this is so very well explained, that the nature of Maya is best represented by a question mark. Best represented by a question mark. In fact, the definition of Maya is Ya Ma Sa Maya. One which is not there when it appears to be there is Maya. And this is why the example of Rajju Sarpa is so important. This is absolutely a central example. You cannot figure out how exactly a vision of a snake in a rope comes about. You can have some partial answers. We admit that. One of the partial answers is that you had a fear of snakes. So, for example, a baby who's not clear about what a snake is will never mistake a rope for a snake. But a person who's grown up and has experienced some fear because of a live snake can have this vision. So this much means that partially you can figure out how this strange description of a simple rope turned out to be a snake. Partially you can figure out. Also, another thing you can say is that a 3-foot rope will also result in a 3-foot snake. You cannot have a 3-foot rope and a 17-foot snake. No. No. If the rope also has 2 undulations, then the snake will also have 2 undulations. So that means that there is some partial, this is exactly like saying we can figure out how many electrons and how electrons and protons make into an atom. Yes, you can figure it out. But how did this whole thing come about? You cannot figure it out. Cannot figure it out, and it's not necessary to. And so, this whole verse is to say this whole creation can be done by the Atma without any external help, and also how the Srishti in the minds of the human being comes about, you cannot figure it out. In fact, there is no Srishti. This is something that we will see this in more detail, that you can say that moksha is not an event. Freedom is not an event. It is already, you are already free, but you just don't know it. That's it. This is another tenet of Vedanta that we should be very clear about. And so this is sketched out in more detail. And in doing so, and I'll say some more things about it just to solidify this idea. So in doing so, we saw that a number of other schools of thought that don't accept this, don't understand this, their view is completely different, are depicted. And so Paramahanu Karanata, Samavaya Karanata was discussed, that everyone has a theory, that how this thing came about, and when you have a wrong understanding of how it came about and so on, then you're likely to find a wrong understanding of how to end it. And in fact, I would say that one of the tenets of Vedanta is that once you take the world to be real, then the methods of removing it are all false. It's just like saying, if you take a snake to be real, and then you try to remove it, then everything looks silly. Once you accept that there is a snake, then you'd say, how do I take it out? Then you can take a stick to remove it, or you can enclose the whole room and not go there at all. All kinds of things happen. And when it is not there, then how can you even deal with it? And we say samsara and the jagat appears to be there, but it is not there. It gets paused because the fact is that everybody has a question that, wait a second, it appears to be there. The world is very real. How can you say it is not there? We say we know. It is all just like a snake also appeared to be there. We are not saying you're stupid or anything. It appeared, but you made a mistake. That's all. So in proving this central point, a lot of the other schools of thoughts are articulated. And so we went into that. Again, I'm trying to keep an overall idea about the second verse. And you can certainly, if you're interested, read a lot about the details of what the others are saying. And we ended the last class by saying that they have their own ideas about pramana and prameya. So pramana was what are the means of understanding? And one of the means of understanding, and if you want to write down this as also as one of the tenets of Vedanta, please do so. One of the methods of pramana are not accepted by everyone. And that is a words of wisdom. Words of wisdom are not accepted by many of the schools of thought, and they are accepted by a few people, but certainly by Advaita Vedanta. So Advaita Vedanta says, wait. There are ways of identifying. So just to step back, and I talked about this in the Gita class, I think in the Gita class on Saturday, but just a quick summary of that. So our experiences can be classified into three segments. One is called Pratyaksha. So Pratyaksha means Aksham Prati Gamyade, the one which is clear to my eyes, like the vision of this class. This is called Pratyaksha. We know there is a light, we know there are chairs, we know there are people sitting there right in our view. It's called Pratyaksha. Then we have Paroksha. Paroksha can be something which is not immediately visible to us, and it can be away from us, but it can be described through words. You know, like for example, if somebody were to say, is there a Taco Bell nearby? Then someone will say, I think the nearest Taco Bell is on Main Street, next to the Jain Bhavan. Oh really? I'm very hungry, I want to go there. How do I get there? This is all Paroksha Jnanam. You'll say you turn a left, you go on this street, then you go here, and then you will see Taco Bell. Now I haven't seen Taco Bell, but the words of a wise person means one knowledgeable person, gives me an idea of the truth about Taco Bell which is not Pratyaksha. So this is what is called Paroksha. Right? This is the second one. There is a third category which is called Aparoksha. And Aparoksha can be approximated by the following example. So suppose there is a person, a new person comes into this class. Supposing one of you bring a friend. And that friend is sitting in the class, and I'm also I'm looking at that person. And that person is also listening to me. And everybody else also, supposing the door opens, you all turn around and you see this person. And he sits down. We have no idea who that is. At the end of the class, this student can say, I want to introduce my friend. He is the Chief Minister of Telangana. Very unlikely that the Chief Minister of Telangana will find time to come there right now, but something like some famous person. So here's the thing, this is called Aparoksha Jnanam. Why is it called Aparoksha Jnanam? Because the Pratyaksha Jnanam was not there. I don't know a fact about this person. And because of that, my behavior to this person will be very different. I'll just say he's some local guy. But if he's the Chief Minister of Telangana, oh my goodness, I will be very honored, and I will actually spend a lot of time talking to him, and all kinds of things. If you are from Telangana, you will not let go of him. All kinds of things will happen just because of an introduction by another person. So therefore, words of a wise person means a knowledgeable person, is an independent pramana for knowledge. Pratyaksha may not be, aparoksha may not be, but certainly it is there. Now, this is the general principle. When it comes to you, what pramana will be effective? You, the conscious person, what pramana will be there? Is it pratyaksha? Because you are not there as an object. Pratyaksha means that you have to be there as an object. And pratyaksha doesn't help if you are not an object. Is it paroksha? It looks like it is paroksha, but can you ever be paroksha? So you know what? Like the Chief Minister of Telangana, if there is a wise person, he will introduce you to yourself and will say, my goodness, you know who you are? Do you know? And I'll say, this is the problem, I'll say, who are you to tell me who I am? I know who I am, who are you? That's very possible. In fact, this is exactly what happens. You ask, sometimes when I'm torn between what to say for these ads about Swamiji or even my own classes and so on and so forth. If I say something like in the ad, if you come to the class, I will explain who you really are. People will say, crazy guys, wasting my time. You cannot say that. So you have to be sly about it, Vedanta. And only people that have listened to Vedanta and have some value for it might even be looking, but even then, you cannot say that. You'll say, your life will be a little happier. People can, this is exactly what happens. You cannot tell people that, listen, you have already won the lottery. And you cannot believe how much money you already have. Will somebody look you, just supposing you put an ad in and say, you know what, I am going to give you $1 trillion. And people will say, crazy guy. But if you say that if you come to the class, we'll all be given $100. They'll say, wow, that sounds good. Really, do I have to do anything? No, nothing else. Just come to the class and you'll be given $100. Then I think the class will be pretty full. I should do that actually. That's a good idea. I just thought of it. It's a good way for me to attract people. So that's the situation. It's a very funny situation. That the Shastra says, how do I convince this person that you are beyond death? Your nature is Amritam. And I say, oh, Amritam, what is Amritam? Do I have to drink a nectar? This is what happens, You have to drink a nectar and suddenly you become, wow. What's going to happen? It's a very funny situation. Anyway, so just to summarize this, this is how we started this. In the discussion about pramana, then a vakya by an apta purusha, a wise person, which is, we are just the spokespeople for it, by the Vedanta, is a pramana. Why is it? Because even though I am not paroksha, this is why the word aparoksha is so beautiful for the Atma. Very beautiful for the Atma. Why? Because Atma cannot be paroksha. And Atma cannot be pratyaksha. In fact, this is the meaning of the Vakya neti neti iti Vakya. Neti neti iti upadesha. Na iti, na iti, na iti. You are not this, you are not. In fact, the two neti, there are two na iti, na iti. So one is the sthula sharira, prapancha, and one is the sukshma sharira, prapancha. So you are neither of them. You are not this, you are not that, none of it. In fact, you are. And you don't even have to be pointed out who you are. Nothing positive needs to be done. Because all the negative things have been taken off, what is left is you. And that you is still there, Satyam Jnanam Anantam. And so this is how the pramana, this is called pramana vichara, or pramana vichara. So all this example about pratyaksha, paroksha, aparoksha and so on come under what is called pramana vichara. That how is the proof given? What is the nature of the proof? Because we know all the nature of the different pramanas. So you have pratyaksha, you have anumana, you have anupalabdhi, all of these kinds of things. But shabda pramana has a special meaning in Vedanta. This is called pramana vichara. And I think that was all talked about. This is what we said. Then there is also prameya vichara. So one is pramana vichara, and so here in the Manasa Ullasa verses number 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, it was about pramana vichara. Then in the verses number 20 to 30 and 31 through 41, there is prameya vichara. Prameya vichara means not the means of understanding, but what things do you understand through the means of understanding? What do you see? What is the vastu? So then it was given in, so the Vaisheshikas and Sankhyas, they have their entire list. That and really these are all intelligent people. You should see them. They are all rishis. They can think about, okay, now let's see. There is a dravya, there is a guna, there is a sambandha, there is a connection. All these have to be thought through. These are philosophical experts in doing so. But they do not accept the vision of the Advaita Vedanta. And what is that vision? And that vision will come in a minute. But anyway, whatever the vision is, they don't accept it. They say, no, we have to figure it out. We have to figure it out. And they get some ideas from the Vedas, but they say, no, we have to really understand how this whole thing happens. So that is all articulated in the Manasa Ullasa verses up to 41. Then in 42 and in 43, the Pauranika Tattvani, the ones who think about Puranas, and I won't go into this, I want to keep it to the summary of this. And also, if you want, you can actually look into all of this. What are the Pauranikas say? and also Shaivam. So Vaishnavam also I think was not given in here, but they also have some ideas about, so for example the Shaivas and the Vaishnavas, they are not Advaita Vedantins. They have many of the same ideas as Advaita Vedantins, but they are, and same thing with Vishishta Advaitins, very different from, they have some, they feel, for example, that that Shiva has a form, and that you can go to Swargaloka and be with Shiva. And similarly, so they have some changes in the way they look at Advaita Vedanta, and it's different from so Shaivas and Vaishnavas and so on, and so here is one of the good things to see all of this. They say, so just summarize this. This is another understanding of it. You cannot believe in something. What Advaita Vedanta says, that anything, in fact this is going to come in the Mandukya Karika on Saturdays also, the same thing, that when you believe in something, in something other than yourself, when you believe in it, you become slave to it. And when you believe in something with all of your gusto and all your commitment and so on, then what happens is you're not interested in truth. A good example of that are the Trump believers. So this is a fact that, really speaking, even if he were to murder people, they are still going to vote for him. That has nothing to do with it. They are saying this is the person who is going to bring America back to what it used to be, and we believe in him. And so it really happens with Republicans and Democrats, and same thing happens with you find a particular temple that you like and you feel this is what I need to do. And in Vedanta we say you have to give up all beliefs other than the self. You cannot be committed to anything. You just have to see the purity and the beauty of the Atma. No beliefs anywhere. So, so this is where the verses number up to Manasa Ulasa number 43, Shaiva Agame. So Shaiva Agame, look at this, the title by Swami Maheshanandji. Shaiva and Agama. Agama stands for the Vedic scriptures, especially the Karma Kanda. So this is a dual form. Shaiva plus Agama becomes Shaivagame. So in both of them, Siddha Tattva Nam Nirupanam. So what is the Siddha Tattva? Siddha Tattva means what do they believe in? What are they saying? Those are given in verse number 43. So this completes the list of the belief system all the way from Vaishnavas, from Paramanuvadas, from Sankhyas, and even included here now the Shaivaha, and also our close cousin, which is Purva Mimamsa, which is the Karma Kanda. So the Karma Kanda also. So in Karma Kanda is very interesting. If you're a pure Karmakandi, they even slight Ishvara. The reason they slight Ishvara, they say really what matters is your karmas, your punya and papa. And you keep on improving yourself. And the Vedas, they look upon the Vedas as the ultimate truth. Means that in no point in time Vedas will not be there. And they are almost true. We say almost because they feel that even in Pralaya, Vedas are there. And you have to look at the Vedic scriptures, the mantras, the various rituals and so on, as the ones where you would remove your papas. And then through they use krama mukti. And you do one thing good, and after that you'll go here, then you go here, then you go here, then you go to Brahmaloka, etc. Which is one method of doing it, but not the one that Vedanta espouses. So we say that Vedas as the breath of Ishvara is always there. Yes. But as the breath of Ishvara, as the very saying of Ishvara. And in Pralaya also it disappears. Disappears means that just like in the night everything disappears, but it is not removed. And this is exactly what is being said in the second verse. Bijasya ita ivankuraha ankuraha. He says that a tree disappears, but it is not gone because the bija, the seed is still there. Seed is still there. And so really speaking, you have this cycle that happens, and this is how the Ishvara expresses. Now, in the explanation of the Vedantic methods, another question comes up. And the question is that, wait a second, you are saying the example of a seed turning into a tree. So we say yes. All right, but then in the case of a seed turning into a tree, you have sahakari karanam. You have earth. You have water. You have sunlight. So, in the case of the bija that turns into a human form, you also have needed some other things on top of that. That means the Atma cannot generate itself. We don't say that the Atma generates itself, but we say that the feeling of generation is within Atma. You don't need anything outside from anything. You are the problem, you are the solution. You are the one you can be dreaming, you can have a lot of problems in dreaming, or you can wake up and just remove the dream altogether. You don't need any external help. It is all within the Atma itself. And exactly this is what has to be deemed. You have to see that just like you cannot say that the snake is there, it just appears. So in fact, the whole creation is a non-creation. The whole creation is as though there is a creation. And so if you give any reality to the creation, your solution is going to be wrong. Just like if you give a reality to the snake, then your solutions are going to be crazy. You'll start beating it up, you'll start to escape from it, all kinds. It is not there, except as your mistake. So similarly, what Vedanta is saying is that the Atma has created this dreamlike situation. And this situation is not there. And the way to solve the situation is to see that it is not there. There is some work to be done. There is some work to be done, no doubt about it. Like, for example, supposing a person that makes a mistake about seeing the rope to be a snake, some work has to be done. In the sense that somebody has to explain, son, you made a mistake, I'm telling you, you please come with me. And this is one of the aspects of the Gita, for instance, where Arjuna was basically saying that I am not happy about this war and I want to escape it. It is almost exactly like saying that I see a snake in this rope and I cannot stand it. So I want to go to Rishikesh and just meditate. I don't want to fight this war. So Krishna could have said, okay, fine, do it. I agree, you've changed your heart and so on and so forth. Krishna says no. Why not? Because if a person says, I see a snake inside the rope and I want to move away, and the person says, no, I want to just be there. I want you to see that it is not there. Similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita, as you know, Krishna says, listen, Yuddhasva, you fight this war. Why? Because the way you take the participants of this war, your dharma has become an adharma. Because of your love with all of the teachers and your elders and so on and so forth, your mind has gone crazy. They have done nothing but bad things to the whole society. You need to fight through them. And you are now letting your love for them suspend your dharma. And you'll never see the truth of it. They're already gone. I am the one that has to kill them. I see the future. But for your sake, you cannot escape it. You have to go through it. It is exactly like saying that, listen, if you leave the room, you will never discover that the snake was not there. So therefore, in our case also, what we have to do is, through some work, so in that case of the rope and snake, it's just, for example, you have to take the person by hand, perhaps forcibly, and go there and shine a flashlight or turn the light on and do some work. So another aspect of that is what is called praptasya prapti, an acquisition of the already acquired. So in apraptasya prapti means one which is not yet acquired. Main thing is karma, and secondary thing is jnanam, isn't it? So apraptasya prapti means that if you were to go somewhere like San Francisco, there you cannot just close your eyes and feel, okay, I'm in San Francisco. That doesn't do it. You have to go there. And also which direction to go, you have to know that. But in losing your keys, when in fact they are in your pocket, it is called praptasya prapti. There jnanam is the main thing. But in order to know jnanam, you have to at least search a little bit. You have to say, oh yeah, so I forgot about this pocket. So karma is there, but in a very minor form. So similarly, to see that the snake is not there, there is a little bit of work involved, but not the way you think about it. Because the work will culminate in jnanam. And so what is said is that, so just look at the bottom line on this. Look at the bottom line on this. The bottom line is that our attitudes toward the world is not to fight it, not to improve it, not to postpone my wrestling with it or anything, but to continue to work on seeing that it is not your problem. At every stage you have to see, you have to smile through it, you have to let go. And there are so many methods that we have to be given, that the first thing you should do is to reduce this mamakara. This is mine. I am responsible for it. You have to make sure that you understand it is happening anyway. Ishvara is the one who is taking care of everything. You're unnecessarily trying to believe in the reality that this is me, this is I've got to do this. This is the work that is required. But the underlying thought at any point is, this is all going to go. I don't need it. This is what the nididhyasanam is. I don't need it. I am okay the way I am. And so this what I would say would be the way to do this would be, I'm looking for that word but it's not coming to me, but the way to do that is this cause and effect. So here, this is these are, Swami Chinmayananda also used to say that the two wings of the bird has to have two wings. You cannot fly with one wing. So similarly here also, the two wings are Viveka and Vairagya. This is a very important thing to see. Viveka and Vairagya. The more you do Vairagya, the more subtle is your Viveka. And the more subtle is your Viveka, the more real is your Vairagya. So it's just a push-pull kind of a thing. And because right now, our feeling is that I need the world. And to a certain extent you need. You have to make money, you have to take care of the family, and all that is there. This is where the prarabdha duties come in. So we're not saying that. Don't spoil things as saying, okay, I'm leaving everything. No. You're going to make a mess of it. But as you are doing it, for your own happiness and for your own satisfaction, you don't need anything except yourself. And the way to appreciate that is to take a first baby step. You cannot appreciate, this is the Viveka and Vairagya, you cannot appreciate yourself until you are willing to let go of your dependencies. And you're not going to let go of your dependencies until you know that there is a source which is you, which is Ananda. So this is the bottom line of this whole thing. And the bottom line is that do not give reality to the world. Let go of it. Give reality to yourself. Wow, how can I give reality to myself? Is the thing. You give reality, because the problem is you give reality to your body-mind complex. That also needs to be given up. That is also part of the world. You don't know how to give reality to Chaitanya Swarupa, Nirvikaraha, one which is the form of existence, pure existence, which is what you are. But you don't know how to give reality to it. You don't know how to, and you will. But the way to do that is to start on the process. And the very start means you have to see that this is like magic. So this is where this comes about. We can almost like summarize it. So bijasya antar iva ankuraha jagadidam prang nirvikalpam punaha maya kalpita desha kala kalana vaichitrya chitrikritam. So here in the Chitra Deepa Prakaranam of the 6th chapter of the Panchadashi, Swami Vidyaranya gives this beautiful example that just like you have a painter who has painted this beautiful picture, and what the painter can do is on a canvas, and you wrap the canvas into a roll, you take out the canvas and show the picture. There you see the whole picture. Or you can roll it back where you don't see the picture. The picture is still there, but you don't see it. This is exactly what happens in the night time. I am very much there. My relationships also, to the extent that I have some connections and so on, they're still very much there. My body, my mind, my prana, everything is still there, but invisible. There it doesn't affect you. And then the Mayavi starts to unravel it. And so you are always there, whether in a manifest form or an unmanifest form, but you are always there. That you have to think about. Who am I? Who's always there? And how am I? I'm kalpitaha. This is what we're studying in the Mandukya also. It's interesting how these things come about in the same way. So there also we're looking at the kalpana, the vaichitriyatitam. Anyway, the same thing is given here. So maya kalpita desha kala kalana vaichitra chitrikitam. All kinds of infinite varieties of, we can never figure it out. It's infinite, changing all the time, flowing. And here two words are used. One is called Mayavi and one is called Mahayogi. Why? Here Swami Maheshananji gives a beautiful example. He says that again the same issue with respect to Sahakari Karanatvam. So Sahakari Karanatvam means that, let's say you have a pot maker who makes a pot. He has the skill to visualize a beautiful clay shape, and in the mind he already knows this is how I'm going to make it. I'm going to have a long neck and then a kind of like a stomach and then some stem in the bottom and so on. But he needs help. So he needs something to rotate it as a pot maker does. And he needs some water to wet the clay. All these kinds of things. So in fact, even a magician, yeah, so let's leave it at Mayavi Iva. A magician also needs some help. He will try to draw some kind of a picture and do something, some way to mesmerize you, and so he needs some props, in other words. But then the Ishvara, and Ishvara means the Jiva is also given a minor version of Ishvaratvam, because every night we do the same thing. What Ishvara does, he gives us a little sample of during the dream also. We do the same thing. So in the case of Ishvara, he is not just like a Mayavi. Of course he's a Mayavi. He's like a Mahayogi. What is the difference between a Mahayogi and a Mayavi? A Mayavi requires some Sahakari Karanam. A Mahayogi does not require a Sahakari Karanam. How? They say that, these yogis, they have siddhis. It's very true. In the case of the autobiography of a yogi, it has been given very well. That the yogis, they can come up with some siddhis. They create things out of nothing. And they can create a whole scene and a whole, levitation and all kinds of things. It's possible. And they don't need any help. Just the power of their own mind, they can create everything. So here, all of these words are used to depict. So the end result, the bottom line is that the Atma does not need any help. There is abhinna nimitta upadana karanam. It has all the samagri to be able to do it. And that means you do not depend on anything. You're capable, because you don't depend on anything, therefore your independence as a waker and ultimately as a turiya. Na bahishpragyana antahpragyana ubhayatah pragyana pragyana ghana advaitam turiyam manyante. Complete independence is possible. And the way to do that is to do the work to see the non-existence of this creation. And the way to do that is to take the steps to remove your raga towards it. Don't believe in make-believe things. This is just like a Gandharva Nagari. This is just like a formation of clouds in the sky. This is the wisdom of Vedanta that we have to follow. You cannot solve it. You don't need to solve it. You are okay without it. This is the vision which is communicated in the second verse. And there are a couple of other things that you can look at, that how the three basic Shaktis are given to everyone: Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti. It all comes from Ishvara, and the relevance of that and so on. So by all four intents and purposes, the second verse is now finished. So I will begin to, hopefully, I'll have time to sketch out the third verse, and we will begin with that. And this is how we will proceed. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Yes.
Can you please repeat that? The more you do Vairagya, the more subtle is your Viveka.
Yes.
And the more subtle is your Viveka, the more...
Correct. More strong is your
Strong is your
Vairagya.
Vairagya.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you give the example of it?
Yes. So it means that like suppose you are addicted, and not even addicted, but you are strongly dependent on some wrong thing. Like for example, suppose you discover that you are diabetic and you've been eating sugar all your life, okay? And you're suddenly told, you better give up all artificial sugar. You can start having some fruits, natural sugars, but not any artificial sugar. But you cannot do it because you're so used to doing everything, okay? But suppose you start to experiment with giving up sugar, and you find that your sugar levels are indeed going down. Now you're getting more convinced that this can be done. Before that, you had an idea, but you were not strong enough to follow through with this. But you can now see by doing something that, yes, if I have vairagya towards sugar, and this is what happens when you discover that you are overweight and you want to give up some carbs. So we cannot give up rice and rotis and so on and so forth. It's slowly, when you find the good effects of giving up, you're starting to lose weight, whatever it is, then that is viveka. That is vairagya. And the viveka is that you see, yes, this is true, or something like that. Yeah. Anyway, I think we should, I'm going to try to help you with the idea I said in the beginning of the class to have, because I think that...
So each verse, you mean?
Each verse so keep on, have a separate file.
Yeah, that's what...
Where you keep on putting these ideas, and then we will extract from it some of the key ones that... And so yes, each one of the verses, so there are two things to do.
Central theme of each
One
verse.
is central theme of each verse you should be able to articulate for yourself in the beginning and then also for others. And then to put it all together, you'll see the entire picture. And test yourself to say that if I have to give a talk about Vedanta, what are the key things we will do? So, I think that would be good to do. So, and I'm happy that we have picked up space because I only will spend as much time as is necessary. I won't go into all of the Manasa Ullasa verses to keep the focus on the main aspects of it. So I'll keep doing it. Some of the verses may need more time, but I want to really finish this in about 40 to 50 classes, and so that we have some